Hey y'all, welcome back to the Honest Edit. This is Holly and this is Scarlett. This is our podcast. We're coming to you a little late in the game because we took a couple weeks off because we had life and it was lifing and there was a lot of stuff.
I moved, so
She
there's
moved,
that.
and then she got sick and then she had surgery and then I had all of the things and into school and all that, and now we're like dead into summertime.
Hot summertime.
It's icky.
Yeah.
So we're back, and today we're at Scarlett's new house in our new podcast space. So it's a little bare, but
Third time's a charm for our podcast space.
and we're bringing a guest in today that we're really excited to talk to and share some information with you. His name is Axel Eaton. Say hi, Axel. And Axel. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, love. Axel is an environmental systems thinker, a healthy home strategist, and an advocate for creating spaces that support human health and ecological resilience. So that's a lot, but we're going to explain to you what all that means. So after earning a degree in environmental science from UC Santa Barbara, Axel spent years working in organic and regenerative agriculture, where he developed a deep understanding of the connections between soil, water, ecosystems, and human well-being. And today he helps homeowners remove hidden environmental stressors and toxins in their living spaces, just transform their homes and environments and make everybody healthier. So he is involved with Southern California nonprofit called Creek Team, OC?
Yep, Creek Team.
Okay, so Axel is involved with Southern California nonprofit called Creek Team that helped to eliminate toxins and pesticides from public spaces and waterways. That is a big thing that's going on right now. It's everywhere. There's studies being done. So he is literally on the front lines, educating people and making things happen. And when he's not creating beautiful homes and healthier spaces for people, you can find him riding his bike in Southern California. He also likes to forage for bananas and figs and anything in the wild, which is super cute, Axel. So we're very excited to have him on today. Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Thanks, Holly, and thanks, Scarlett, for having me. It's exciting to be here.
So we're doing this a little different because he's in Southern California and we're in Dallas, so he's on a Zoom, so it's going to look a little different if we're watching. But I first met Axel when my good friend Kendra, who's my neighbor, was pregnant. And I had met her parents before, and I had given her a book called The First 40 Days, which is a amazing book for postpartum women, and it has recipes of how to just re-nourish your body and things to think about after you have the baby. And this guy went to the apothecary to find the right mushrooms for the stock, bought all of the things, and I come into my friend's house and her brother's in the kitchen making this amazing bone broth for her, and is on point with all of the things that we need after we have a baby and just living healthy and nourishing our bodies. And I was like, he's a special one. So I've been following his stuff. He's been saving turtles in Las Vegas. Is that what it was?
Wow.
He's been doing farming. There's all kinds of stuff. So we're going to learn a lot today. But mostly I wanted to have him on because Scarlett and I have been running into a lot of non-tox conversations with clients, and we just kind of want to break down what that means. And Axel's going to drop some knowledge on us. And so, that's our show today.
So welcome.
So welcome.
Holly's going to start asking the questions first. So I'm just going to sit here and look beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, she does that. So what we see a lot is with clients is that they're like, oh, I got this new non-toxic cookware, but they're still using Windex and Tide.
Yes, or bleach.
And so what I thought is that instead of being like, no, you're doing it wrong, blah, 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 shaming everyone, Axel can come to the table and talk to us about what all of that means and a sustainable way to start changing things out. So, Axel, tell us a little bit about what got you interested in this topic and this like lifestyle change, and then we can get into some nitty gritty.
Thanks, and thanks for I appreciate the intro. And yeah, it's really cool to remember a few years ago when you walked into my sister's kitchen and I was like, wow, who's this? Like, yeah, meeting you was pretty kismet as well.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I have such a breadth of knowledge and I forget that I can do postpartum nutrition as well.
Yes.
So let's see, how did I get into this space? Well, I consider myself as a non-toxic home strategist. And I think there's a lot of fear in this space around, and so like I got into the fear of, whoa, everything's plastic or everything's like out to hurt me. But I think coming at it from a systems perspective, I'm able to, it helps me not stress out about the things and just helps me carry myself. Like knowledge is power, and knowing how things are built or made or in my home. And there's just a certain systems perspective that helps me understand what's going to give me life and what's going to support me. And I got into this work after I got a degree in environmental science, and all I wanted to do after I graduated was work on farms. So I spent a few years on farms, and it showed me the systems of the seasons. I was working with herbalists, and my boss was growing I don't even know some of the names of the herbs she was growing. And I don't even know some of the uses, but it showed me, one, how to grow healthy things, how to take care of them and tend to them. And then the underlying systems that create that. So the minerals in the soil, the pollination, the season, and the temperature of things, and how all these things miraculously come together and allow for something to pollinate and then evolve. And there's some really key things in soil. If we don't have phosphate or iron, or there's could be nematodes, and we got to take out nematodes. And there's different, there's an industrial agricultural way to produce food, but at a local, smaller level, there's just ways we learned organically and like alternative methods to those things that helped me understand how to tend to land. And so, I've been studying how to bring that into a home setting. I think that there's like the feng shui of homes, which is the invisible energy that we might not see. Then there's like the physiology of like, we have an HVAC, we have a sink that pumps water. And I think that it mimics the human body in a way that there's organs in the body that filter things. We've got filters in our homes. It's like a car engine could be a good metaphor. We've got to change our oil every once in a while. So, understanding the system of how does this work? How do we take care of this? How do we tend to this home so that it keeps running and when I get in my home, I'm healthier. I'm not, there is a term going around called sick building syndrome. And it's that we spend so much time in our homes. I think we spend 80% of our lives in our homes on average. And the way that buildings are built these days is so much different, and it's actually causing disease and illness. And there's things that we can change that fundamentally create our homes that are not sick and help us get healthier. So, I've studied breadth of topics, but that's what I'm doing now, is I'm just doing it in my own house, learning about things every day, but not obsessing over it, just like taking it one step at a time.
So it's interesting because I'll be 42 next month. And whenever I was growing up, we weren't talking about this in school. We were going to Bath and Body Works. We were buying all the things. We were not really work. Like my grandmother had a garden, and I would go and play in the garden and eat the tomatoes and all the things, but I didn't really understand it. And I think over the last 50 or so years, there's been a shift in our country and in the world about how we're farming, how we're getting food, what products we're using, because there's so much research coming out with all of these toxic materials that we're using and chemicals to make it cheap, to make it fast, to make it be able to be sold in Florida on the shelf and in the Northeast on the shelf. And so what we're seeing a lot with clients, especially all the families that we work with, people are now alarmed by learning some of this. And there's so many great documentaries about the soil and about how if you're, just like you were saying, like if you're growing food in shit soil, you're getting shit food. You're not actually getting the nutrients and the minerals. And I think after I had Max, I was just dead. I was so tired all the time. And I actually worked with, his name's Hamid Jabbar. His tag is the mineral shaman. And we did hair testing, and my minerals were just done. And so I was exhausted all the time. So I started remineralizing my body, because if we're drinking clean tap water, you're not getting any stuff. So we're stripping out a lot of things. And if we're not eating food grown in good soil, it's just, we're constantly getting depleted. So that's kind of when I got into this, and then started thinking about, what's the air in my home? What's the paint on my walls? What's the materials I'm using? So can you tell us a little bit about the shifts over that you've seen, and some of the work that in California that you guys are like ringing the alarm bell off about? But pause on that. Before that, I do want to ask, what is like non-toxic or toxic mean to you as you're doing this like work?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I love that. I love that question. Well, so toxic to me is, I think the definition is poison. If something is toxic, it's poisonous. Toxicity, for me, when I think of toxicity, I just think of something that's not getting better. It's concentrated in a way that's harmful and to the ecosystem and
Harmful to our body.
Yeah.
So non-toxic would be lacking those qualities. It's balanced. It's in harmony with itself.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of shift a little bit in terms of like what is toxic and what is not. And obviously there's like a certain exposure to these toxins. And I don't want anyone to watch this to feel overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I got to go get rid of all this stuff. I got to go whatever. So is there like a dangerous exposure, an everyday exposure, like kind of going into how someone can approach this and start kind of chipping away at making our own households a bit healthier and less toxic or with toxins? So I know it's like kind of a two-parter question with exposure and with the toxins.
Sure. Yeah. I think maybe, I don't know if this is not to be, I think the real, let's see, to be sincere, I think part of my journey here is just accepting that I'm living in a certain day and age, and unfortunately we live in an industrial world, and there's pollution, and then there is some sense of environmental factors in my regional area, potentially in my home. So I think the acceptance around that piece is, I'm not trying to like solve this grander issue, but my work is just to help. There's really simple things that I had no idea I could do until a couple of years ago that, I started switching from plastic to glass and from plastic utensils or cookware to there's different things. And so I think it's like, okay, if we can get the fundamental, really easy things out of the way, then then I can start thinking about what clothes I'm wearing or like the, EMFs and then like maybe the paint on my walls. But before we even get there, before we get to like creating an automatic system for my lights in my house to be synced up with the circadian rhythm of the sun's position in the sky, let's look at like some really simple things like, there's some really basic things and we can get into it, but
well, I guess that would lead into my next question. Like, what do you feel is the biggest offender in someone's home right now?
the biggest offender. So I break it down into two categories. I think it's what I'm breathing and then what I'm eating and drinking. And if someone is affected by mold in their home, I think that's a hugely understated consideration in today's day and age. I was living in some moldy environments, and as soon as I realized it and addressed it, like, I was dealing with brain fog and whole like fatigue, and as soon as I started treating it, it was only like a week until I started really feeling leaps and bounds better. So that's something to like check behind water fixtures in bathroom sinks and to see if there's any leaks in the plumbing.
Yeah. And that's really no joke. I mean, you had that experience, and I also had someone that I do a lot of business with that's a friend and a colleague, and they had mold that they weren't even aware was in their home, and it affected their family so bad. It's taken them up to a year to detox and get rid of the brain fog, the lack of energy. She even has like speaking issues now. I mean, it got so bad because they just didn't realize that they had it. And I think there needs to be a lot more awareness. I mean, the mold is just incredibly detrimental to our health. So I'm so glad that you like brought that up, because I feel like that's a conversation that I just recently had, and it's coming up more and more and more.
It's unfortunate. I think, especially, I'm not sure if in Texas it's the same, but my sister just bought a house, and as she was looking through some like laundry room or some room next to the garage, and there was like definitely mold in the walls there. So, it's just, I'm glad she found it. That's all I can say.
Do you feel like there's something that's an offender that like surprises people? Like someone would go, "Oh, wow, I didn't even think of that."
Yeah. So I'm reading this book called Slow. It's a weird name. So Slow Death by Rubber Duck. And
Okay.
It's called that because it's something so trivial, a rubber duck. It's in our kids' bathtubs and it's in people with Jeeps get them thrown around, but they're made with petroleum byproducts and phthalates, and they off gas VOCs. And in this book, these people are, God bless them. 10 years ago, they took on this experiment so they identified the biggest and most common environmental stressors in our lives. And then they would go through these fasts where they'd be like, okay, if receipts really do have plastic in them, there's been research that shows they have BPA and some other plastics in them. So they made sure they didn't go anywhere near a receipt for, 10 days or something. And then they had this 24-hour window where they got receipts and they passed them around for 15 minutes and they rubbed them all over. And then they were like, oh, we heard that greasy hands actually increases the transmission rate between the plastic and then into the body. So we're going to put French fries on the table and then we're going to, get our hands really greasy. So these people then tested their blood before and after and had like 6-hour windows, and it shows the level of plastic in their body over the next like exposure rate. And they do these experiments with, so many different things. But one of the things they looked at was how just wearing shoes in a home is really detrimental. Like I take my shoes off in everyone's home, even if they're like, no, it's okay. I'm like, I just like to take my shoes off. But maybe that's some like hippie gene that I have.
I have it too. Shoes in the house is disgusting.
She literally walked in and took her shoes off, and I was like,
Okay.
come in.
But then what I'm scared about is if people wear their shoes in their house and then I come in and I take my shoes off, then I'm like, okay, then everything that was on the bottom of those shoes is now on the bottom of my feet and it's getting in my body.
Yeah.
So it's a mind fuck either way.
Yeah.
So, okay, I love that book and I want to read it because what I think is happening, what I see is happening is that, let's go back to like the environmental impact. So we were just doing things really fast, lots of industry, lots of consuming lots of things. And then everybody had plastic and everybody has, the cheap cleaners. And now there's more and more studies coming out and more people are interested in, well, what is in this or what is a part of this? And some, hopefully healthcare providers, if you are coming to the table with, I have postnasal drip, I have brain fog, I can't sleep well, I have hormone imbalance, my thyroid field is off or my whatever the standard levels of things are according to Western science and medicine, everything is a little off. There's more and more correlation in studies of these are environmental toxins in your home. So having mold can cause all these things. And it's not like you're going to find it on a test at the doctor's office, but you can find it in your home and you can remedy it. You can get some air filters, and I have air doctor filters in all of my house. You can get your HVAC ducts cleaned. Make sure you're using air filters.
Or changing them out more frequently, like keeping up with those maintenance.
So there's one of the things that is happening, and then Axel also mentioned like water and food. So like our water is contaminated. You can get a test online and go see, and most of the water is contaminated. And it's contaminated with pesticides, with heavy metals, with runoff from nasty agricultural practices that make food for the masses. And it's getting into our body. So what's happening is we're having a toxic overload every day. So if you're having, shitty coffee in the morning with mycotoxins in it and mold. And then you're having...
Which is in coffee. Yeah, I had to get a specific coffee with less mold in it.
And then you're using Windex. It has endocrine disruptors and reproductive issue, a chemical that like fucks up your reproductive system. You're using that. And then you're going outside and you're in the environmental toxin with the gas and the pollution and all the things. So like what you're doing is your body is just constantly stacked with different things. And so you're not going to be able to heal. There's a lot of stuff out there that is on a label that people just don't look at. And there's a lot of stuff that's like hidden inside of another ingredient. And so heavy metals is a really big problem and something that I look at a lot with things. And I'll do like a heavy metal detox a couple times, like twice a year. And these are things that the rest of the world is already doing. Europe has a way different system than us for food. I mean, there are things that are banned in other countries that we are still feeding our kids. And so if you're looking at, inside your home, yes, it can be totally overwhelming. And what Axel is doing and helping people with, like, let's just take baby steps. And there's some resources we're going to share with you as well. But the repeated exposure is what gets your liver to shut down and not process. And then you have all this disease. And it's dis-ease disease. So then, your kids are wild. You're like, why are they crazy? Well, they just had a bunch of high fructose corn syrup and their body doesn't know how to react to that.
Yeah. Or even something simple like right now, my daughter is home from college and it's like a complete transition for her. And so instead of being busy with studying and sorority stuff and tasks and hanging out with friends, now it's like a completely different lifestyle. She's a little bored. So she's eating a lot more sugar, drinking a lot more sodas, and she can't sleep. Her entire sleep schedule is completely off. She's not eating the best, and she's a very healthy, conscious individual, but it's just kind of like the lifestyle shift of coming back home, and life's a lot slower than it was in college. And so it's just something so small. And then Axel, I was reading for you that you have like 5 practical steps where you can reduce like toxin exposure at home. And I was just really curious to hear what that would be and what advice you have.
Absolutely. Let's see. So it's either 4 or 5. And yeah, when you ask me the biggest factor, I think like taking shoes off is a small thing, but some of the bigger, and maybe that is the biggest, but that was the one that came to mind first. 4 or 5 things you can do that are really quick steps is getting a reverse osmosis water filter and then remineralizing that with the minerals that you do need in your water. That's going to take out your PFAS, your glyphosate, and fluoride that's coming through municipal water. I think it's great that we're making clean water in our towns, but unfortunately it's coming at the risk of actually making it more unsafe in different ways. So we don't have E. coli, but we have other concentrations of small things.
And just real quick, a reverse osmosis system is about this big. It can fit underneath your cabinet. You can have a big ass one for the whole house. I just bought one the other day, $350. We're not talking about thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
We're talking about a small change that's doable, that's going to immediately make a difference with your toxic load. Okay, go.
Yeah.
Next.
And actually, Axel, to tack on what you're saying, when you say add minerals to your water, I have my own way of doing that, but how do you approach that aside from like the osmosis? Like, do you do any additives? Do you do anything?
There's a store called, it's a brewery for water.
Oh,
It's in
that's
our
so
neighborhood
cool.
here. They have something they add to their water, and geez, they are like wizards with water. So I trust whatever they have going on, and they have some remineralization.
Can we nerd out real fast before we go to the others? Can you tell us why?
Yes, that's what I'm here to nerd out.
Yeah. So, can you tell us why we need to mineralize our water and why that matters? Because some people probably just think water is water.
And it's not.
Well, I think so. With like, there's different water filters, and water inherently has magnesium and like, I think varying levels of like iron, or there's like the head hardiness, and your water can be hard or soft, and you can condition it with salt, and there's different ions we can have in our water. There's different pHs of water, so it's a very like black and white scientific, like if we're getting nerdy here, there's like the properties of the water. There's like, it's not what it tastes like, but it's like what is in it at a concentration level. So to my understanding, reverse osmosis takes out things like heavy metals, or there's different elements in water that it'll pull out, so that it's getting rid of like fundamentally the things that could be at a concentration that we wouldn't want, but then some of those things are good, so we can add them back in at a concentration that our bodies need.
Without the contaminants. So I want to take a journey real fast for everyone, because if you're any of my besties, you've heard me go on my soapbox about this. So back in the day, before the Industrial Revolution, when Mama and Papa and Baby were down by the river, they weren't going to Walgreens and getting vitamin D or iron or any of those things. They were eating food from the soil that had the nutrients in it, had the minerals in it. They were drinking water from the stream that had the minerals in it. That is why people could live for thousands and thousands of millennia before this Western medicine, before the pharmacy, because they were actually before everyone got here and the pollution and the construction and all the things, everything that was in the water and in the soil was good. It was inherently good. It had been grown over thousands of years. There were like corn used to be like the best thing on the planet. And now we've totally fucked it up with GMOs. And so
I won't even eat it.
those things, like having water that, and if you're just drinking regular tap water, you're getting contaminants, you're getting toxins, you're getting heavy metals. It's not doing anything. It's just you're drinking it and you're peeing it out and your body's not getting any hydration. That's why we re-mineralize our water after we clean it. I use trace mineral drops. You can get them on Amazon. They're like $25 and I just put a couple drops in here and there. And I learned so much about re-mineralizing your body and your water when I went through that whole protocol with Hamid, and I will share that information. But that's a big deal. When we are drinking, when we go and we grab bottled water from the gas station or whatever, there's no nutrients in there. You are just literally pouring water through your body. You're not getting anything. And there's also microplastics because
that's a huge thing. Yeah.
So I could nerd out on water all day, but
and I'm totally intro to this because, I don't claim it anymore, but I had fibromyalgia and I had tons of pain, gut issues. I mean, the pain was the biggest thing for me. And I have basically gotten rid of about 75% of it, but it was like, what nutrients am I putting in my body? Is my body in motion? Like, what am I surrounding myself with? And I started changing things in my own household. And a big thing that I came upon was the whole water aspect. And I started with salt. Like really good salt, add it to my water and just simply start with that. And then from there, I felt like I learned a whole lot more. And even from this conversation and learning from you, I'm like, wow, I did not consider this. I did not consider that. And so I'm appreciative of learning these things because I just want to feel better.
Right.
I had no energy. I had the brain fog. I had, moodiness and just lack of anything really. And it's just the simple things like this conversation that we can have that brings that awareness and you can make these changes. And I'm curious about what your other 4 is, you had 2, the shoes and the water. So, but, okay. What are the others that you recommend where people can make these changes? Because now I'm like, I want to nerd out a little bit. I wish I had a pen that wrote. I'm going to take notes later.
Do you have any other things to say about water, Axel?
Oh, wow. No, that's really it. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, there's some woo-woo things about like if you talk to the water, then it will like resonate and create different crystals. And I've gone down that route, but I think
moon water. Yeah.
I think that's like to each their own. If you want to look at that, then that's there.
There's also, I have a friend, her mom uses it's the PMF mat that does the frequency and she'll put it around her water and she actually has structured water and so it changes. So these things to you might be woo-woo, but literally for thousands of years before we existed in an industry type of place, this is what they did. They got medicine from the herbs in the garden. That's how they healed. All of the Native Americans that were here, everybody had really dark black hair. If you go into some of the shamans in Mexico, everybody has dark hair. That is because they have mineralized their body. Their body is not lacking minerals. When you start seeing gray hair, it's because your body is oxidizing your minerals and it's actually creating rust in your body, and that's why your hair turns gray. You can actually change that by remineralizing your body. And so if you look at some of these native peoples that have been here forever, they're putting food and putting water in their body from good parts of the earth. And that is why they can live forever and they don't have health problems. And I think one of the things, like you said earlier, is that there's all of these we're calling them autoimmune diseases. And it's just a category, and we don't really know, but there's some endocrine factors, there's some thyroid factors, there's things. This is all toxins in your body that are just stacking up. And eventually your body is having a response. And it could be fibromyalgia, it could be Hashimoto's, it could be enlarged thyroids, it could be fatty liver disease. So this is why it's really important for me for people to just understand. And yes, it's a deep dive, and you could go in hard and you can learn a lot. And we won't take you all there today, but this is why it's so important, because it might cost a little more now, but it's going to cost less having cancer 10 years from now or having other health problems if you can make those small changes. So, okay, Axel, number 2. What's the second thing?
A quick plug on like statistics, like of why this is important for me, and from like a grounded place of just like being like knowledge is power, like protecting our families, creating our homes so that we're protecting ourselves and living a really beautiful life. Is the statistics are showing like male fertility is down 50% in the last 50 years, maybe more. And like, endocrine disruptors, thyroid diseases, cancers, like these things are at alarming rates. And cancer, I've heard that cancer is 10% genetic, and the rest of it is an environmentally linked factor. So my work is, I want to create a world where cancer I want to debunk the myth of cancer in this day and age. And I want to debunk the myth that like we can't do anything about it. We have agency in.
It can be treated as a cold, and there are things you can do to get out of it, because cancer is really inflammation in the body. What causes inflammation? Sugar, which is in everything.
And cancer feeds off of sugar as well.
So there are little things. Yeah, there are little things that you can do. But funny enough, I just had a family member and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I said, okay, great. What's the plan? What did they say about diet? Because she doesn't have, I would say, the cleanest diet. And they're like, oh, she said, just eat protein and drink a lot of water. And I was like, the fuck? That's so frustrating, because even anything that you know about cancer and I know about cancer, there are so many other things. And if someone we could go in big pharma and all that of like, they just want to keep everybody sick, but at least tell them to put some minerals in their water and drink like purified, like clean water. So you're not getting another band of just toxins on you.
Well, I think that's a huge part of it. And I'm not going to go down the big pharma deal, but they just want you to invest in their medicine. And they don't want you to take simple procedures where you're looking at health and nutrients. It's exactly what they did to me said to me when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. They wanted to put me on these hefty medications that made me feel terrible and had more side effects than what I was already dealing with. And I did it for 2 weeks, and I said enough. And I quit cold turkey, which, by the way, I wouldn't recommend to do. You're supposed to taper off those. That was really bad 2 weeks. Anyways, but then when I started investing in my house and my health and what I'm putting in my body and what is my water like and where am I depleted? And I took like a health test, where I'm deficient in things, and I started reintroducing what my body really needed. That made a world of difference, and I was doing so many other different things as well, and it just compounded. And I feel night and day different than what I did. I think I was diagnosed like 8 years ago, and I was basically bedridden at that point. It was hard to just even get up to go use the restroom or get a drink of water or whatever. I literally would just lay there all day. I had nothing.
And it's so sad because there are so many people going through these diseases, but your health provider usually isn't saying, hey, have you looked at all of these things in your home that could be helping cause this? And that's why Axel's work is so important. And he's going to be our non-tox consultant.
I feel like we're going to totally have you back again. We could probably keep talking to you forever.
Yeah. Okay. But tell us about number 2. We'll get back on.
And we'll zip it.
Yeah, no, maybe I'd love to come back. I would love to keep nerding out because it does get really nerdy and everyone's got their own experience. I'll throw this into, like, I had gone through thyroid, my thyroid's been affected. So I'm dealing with hypothyroid. And I think that's part of why I got so sensitive to all these things. And then I became obsessed with, like, okay, how do I get out of hypothyroid? And so I'm slowly working on coming back to a normal thyroid and, detoxing my body of all these things that I've been exposed to. So stay tuned on the journey of if I can get back to normal thyroid level. So I think, I'm not sure what order these will go in, but I'll talk about, there's 3 things. So phthalates, which are in fragrances and perfumes, parabens, which can be in like cosmetic and personal care products. That's basically just another plastic. And then sodium lauryl sulfate, which is a chemical in cleaning agents. It's a surfactant and like a foaming agent that you'll find it in like shower things or like your dish detergent. Easy things to get, any easy alternatives and switches you can make to get these out of your home, out of your system and your family system, is changing cleaning supplies from, the conventional things you might buy off the shelf to, it's been profound. I've seen just using hydrogen peroxide and waiting 5 minutes and then washing that with water and then using water and vinegar in a dilution. It's like, it takes a little bit more intention. It's not just a one shot and it's done, but there's no smell afterwards. And it arguably does a better job of cleaning. And so it's
I
just a way to
use white vinegar to clean with a little bit of peppermint oil, and it is a game changer.
Peppermint oil. Okay, I'm gonna have to try that.
Or lemon oil. I use lemon oil a lot too.
I like the lemon oil.
I like it.